Hello ladies and welcome back. So today's video is kind of a follow-up to my last video I posted about our homeschool curriculum for this year. And I told you guys I was going to do a video about where to start. I know that sometimes people are really interested in homeschooling and they want to just look into it and kind of figure out if it's right for them, but they don't know where to start. So I wanted this video to kind of be 7 steps of where to start if you're interested in homeschooling. Okay, so step number 1 is you need to look up your state's requirements. Every state is different. They're going to have requirements for how many days a year you have to homeschool, what kind of records you need to keep, what kind of testing your children need to do, whether or not you need to register with the state and register your children. So there's different laws in every state regarding schooling and homeschooling. So the first thing you need to do is look up the laws in your state where you live and kind of figure those out and make sure that you can fall in line with all of those things that your state expects of you. Step number 2, make a pros and cons list about homeschooling and be honest with yourself. List out all the pros to you, even if they seem like silly things, and go ahead and list out the cons. Again, even if they seem silly, you want to have that all written down someplace where you can look at it and compare. You might be a family that likes to travel and you want the flexibility of homeschooling. You might worry about your sanity and if you can actually do it, and so that might go on your cons list, that you're not sure you'll be able to homeschool and stay sane. You know, whatever those things may be that are kind of floating around up in here, get them written down on a piece of paper in a pros and cons, and then look at it and see, does one heavily outweigh the other? Number 3, if you feel like your pros outweigh your cons and you're kind of inching towards moving in that direction, then you need to address your fears or what you had on your cons list. Some of those things can be, you might have fears about socialization, which is kind of a buzzword when you're talking about homeschooling. People will always ask you about how you're going to socialize your kids. So you need to address those things for yourself and figure out what activities your children are going to participate in and ways that you know that they are getting everything that you feel as though they need. Again, are you afraid that you're not going to have enough patience for homeschooling? I would tell you that if you feel like, oh, I don't think I have the patience, then maybe you really should homeschool, because there's no better way to learn patience for your children or compassion for your children than to homeschool them. Let me tell you that. So everyone is different, but you need to address those fears and sit down and really go through them and decide if they're valid or not. One way that you can do that is by talking with other moms who homeschool and kind of asking them, how did they work past these fears? I know that if anyone is interested in homeschooling and comes to me, I am happy to sit down and tell them, I was afraid of this, 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 and this is how I overcame it. Okay, so we're moving on to step 4. Now I feel like at this point you kind of know if you're leaning in the yes direction or the no direction. So if you're leaning in the no direction, then this might be the time for you to back out. But if you are leaning in the yes direction, then it's time to start looking at your schedule and planning out your year, deciding if you're going to do year-round homeschooling or if you're just going to do a traditional school schedule. And, you know, again, remembering that you can kind of decide that, depending on your state's regulations, a lot of that is up to you. And deciding when you're going to take your vacations and what times you're going to take off, how long you want to take off at Christmas and the different holidays and things like that. So really sitting down and looking at and planning out your year as best as you can, knowing that life happens and things change. Number 5. Now it's time to choose your curriculum. Again, I think I told you guys I could make an entire separate video that would probably be 20 minutes long about choosing curriculum. There is so much out there to consider. Do you want a religious curriculum? Do you want, are you an unschooling type person? Do you want Charlotte Mason style? Do you think your kids will learn best with a mastery type curriculum or a spiral? You know, all of these things come into play and they can be very overwhelming. So you want to start hunting down now. Definitely ask moms for advice, but don't get too caught up in what other people are doing and using for their kids, because it may not work for you, for your teaching style or for your children's learning style. Now moving on to step 6, which we're kind of moving into the fun steps, is choosing your space. Are you going to set up a whole separate room for homeschooling? Are you going to homeschool in the dining room? Are you going to homeschool at the kitchen table? Again, everybody is different. Some people just like their homeschooling to really just melt in with their everyday life at home. For us, we set up a separate schoolroom because we like that separation, that we go into the schoolroom, we do our book work, and then we leave that and we do other things. Some people like that separation, and some people just want it to all kind of flow within their day and be able to be in the kitchen and have the kids working at the kitchen table while they're cooking lunch. And you know, you just have to kind of evaluate what you think is going to work best for you. Again, knowing that one of the beauties of homeschooling is that you can shift and change and do things differently if you thought it was going to work for you and now it's not. And step number 7, which is One of the most important steps is to get plugged in. Look up homeschool groups and resources within your community. We have a homeschool like bookstore where they teach classes. My kids have taken art classes there. They can take writing workshops. There's a plethora of classes there that they can take. The YMCA offers a lot of classes to homeschoolers, math classes, science classes, writing classes, reading classes, all available, fairly inexpensive, and another great resource, especially if you feel like you might be able to teach some subjects but not all subjects. At least where we live, there are lots of different places where my kids can take classes. Also knowing that a lot of things like gymnastics and different sports offer homeschool sessions. So we have a homeschool group, actually a couple of different ones that we are a part of, and one that we've gotten together with for the last 3 years. And so our kids are all really good friends. They know each other. We do a lot of fun stuff together. We're part of a much larger group that does big field trips. And so they kind of have a coordinator that plans all those things. And so we just kind of pick and choose which ones we want to go to. And they arrange all that stuff and get it kind of together for you so you don't have to. We do field trips on our own. We do field trips just with other little friends here and there. So there are lots of ways to get plugged in with other homeschoolers in your community with just a simple search of Google and kind of figuring out where people are. And again, I know that can be scary to just walk into a group where you don't know anybody, but you know, sometimes you just kind of have to put yourself out there to get the benefits of it. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up. Hit that red subscribe button down below. Hang out with us a little more. Stay a while. I'm going to be putting up more videos about homeschooling and motherhood and all kinds of things because that's what I do. Thanks guys so much for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. I will talk to you soon. Bye.